Friends, if you want to watch the super hit movie The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video we are going to talk about the movie The Matrix Resurrections, 2021. We will cover what this movie is about, where you can watch it, and all the interesting facts behind the scenes. I will guide you through the technical departments, including cinematography, visual effects, production design, and sound design, as well as the music that shapes the atmosphere and tone of the film. We will also discuss the pre-production process, how the film was conceptualized, the scripting and storyboarding, and then move on to filming, including locations, action sequences, stunts, choreography, and how the crew recreated the iconic Matrix style with a modern touch. Post-production will also be covered, including editing, visual effects, CGI, and color grading, which brought the virtual world of the Matrix to life. We will also discuss the budget and box office performance to see how the movie did commercially and whether it met expectations. Additionally, I will give a concise story overview so that you can understand the plot without spoilers, along with a short review of the main plot points to give you a sense of the movie's direction, pacing, and themes. Friends, we will also break down the performances of the star cast, highlighting who played which role, the depth of their characters, and any standout moments that make the performances memorable. Keanu Reeves returns as Neo, bringing his signature style and presence, while Carrie-Anne Moss reprises her role as Trinity, and the chemistry between them remains one of the film's strongest points. We will also talk about the supporting cast, including new characters, their significance in the story, and how they add fresh energy to the established Matrix universe. You will also get insights into key action sequences, cinematic techniques, and visual effects highlights that make the movie visually striking and technically impressive. I will point out how the filmmakers blended nostalgia with new ideas to create a fresh yet familiar experience for viewers. By the end of this video, you will have a full understanding of the movie, including behind-the-scenes facts, story elements, creative decisions, and the performances that bring it all to life. Whether you are a longtime fan of the Matrix series or a new viewer curious about what makes this film unique, this video will give you all the information you need before watching or rewatching The Matrix Resurrections. Watching this video till the end will ensure you know everything about the movie, from the technical and creative aspects to the overall cinematic experience and interesting production details. Friends, stay tuned as we dive into the world of The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, and uncover everything that makes this movie a remarkable addition to the series. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, is set 60 years after the events of the Matrix Revolutions. The story follows Thomas Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves, who now lives a mundane life as a video game developer. He experiences vivid dreams and memories of his past life as Neo, the One, but dismisses them as mere fantasies. His therapist, played by Neil Patrick Harris, prescribes him blue pills to suppress these thoughts and maintain his grip on reality. Anderson's life changes when he encounters a mysterious woman named Tiffany, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, who bears a striking resemblance to his former love, Trinity. Despite their apparent connection, Tiffany is a suburban mother with no memory of her past life. As Anderson delves deeper into his memories, he is confronted by a new version of Morpheus, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, a program that combines elements of the original Morpheus and Agent Smith. Morpheus helps Anderson break free from the simulated reality of the Matrix. In the real world, Anderson discovers that he and Trinity were resurrected by the machines and reinserted into the Matrix to stabilize the system. The Analyst, played by Neil Patrick Harris, reveals that the bond between Anderson and Trinity generates immense energy, and keeping them apart ensures the system's stability. However, Anderson and Trinity's reunion threatens this balance. With the help of allies like Bugs, played by Jessica Henwick, and Niobe, played by Jada Pinkett Smith, Anderson confronts the Analyst and seeks to free both himself and Trinity from the constraints of the Matrix. In the end, they choose to embrace their love and the freedom it represents, even if it means facing an uncertain future. The film explores themes of identity, choice, and the power of love, while introducing new characters and concepts to expand the Matrix universe. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, opens with Thomas Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves, living a quiet, structured life as a successful video game developer. The opening image establishes his world as familiar yet subtly off, hinting at the tension between reality and illusion. Early on, we see Anderson struggling with memories of his past life as Neo, though he dismisses them as mere fantasies. The inciting incident occurs when Anderson encounters Tiffany, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, who resembles Trinity and awakens fragments of his past, setting him on a path to question the reality around him. The rising action follows Anderson as he begins to explore these memories, challenged by the system's control and the Analyst, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who seeks to keep him and Trinity subdued. He is gradually pulled back into the Matrix with the help of allies like Bugs, played by Jessica Henwick, and a new version of Morpheus, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. The film alternates between the constructed Matrix world and glimpses of the real world, using a mix of linear storytelling and deliberate temporal shifts to blur perception and build mystery. These narrative choices deepen our empathy for Neo and Trinity while highlighting the stakes of their reconnection. Midway through the film, key turning points occur as Anderson confronts the Analyst and begins to reclaim his identity as Neo. Scenes such as the meeting with Morpheus and the awakening in the real world provide both spectacle and emotional resonance, emphasizing the power of choice, self-realization, and love. The narrative deliberately leaves gaps that encourage viewers to interpret the rules of the new Matrix and the motivations of returning and new characters. Emotional peaks arrive as Neo and Trinity rediscover their bond, culminating in a sequence that combines action, visual effects, and narrative payoff, reinforcing the theme that their connection can challenge even the machine's control. The finale resolves major conflicts while leaving room for interpretation, with Neo and Trinity choosing freedom together and the possibility of reshaping the Matrix. Scenes that stand out include their synchronized escape and the final realization of their power, which exist not only to advance the plot but to emphasize character growth and thematic depth. The story's structure, moving between illusion and reality, personal struggle, and collective action, keeps viewers engaged and invested in both the action and the emotional journey. Overall, the film balances complex ideas with visual spectacle, making each narrative choice serve multiple purposes while leaving moments for reflection. In The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, Thomas Anderson, also known as Neo, begins as a man trapped between two realities, unsure of what is real and struggling to reconcile his past identity with his current life as a video game developer. His main goal is initially unclear to himself, as he believes his memories are mere fantasies. What stands in his way is not only the Matrix and the Analyst, who manipulate his perception, but also his own self-doubt and fear of confronting the truth about his past. Over the course of the film, Neo gradually reclaims his sense of agency and self-belief, culminating in a confident embrace of his identity and his bond with Trinity. Key moments, such as recognizing familiar faces and recalling past events, signal shifts in his determination and awareness. Trinity, introduced as Tiffany, begins in a seemingly ordinary life with no memory of her past. Her arc revolves around rediscovering her connection with Neo and reclaiming her own power within the Matrix. The constraints imposed by the Analyst keep her unaware of her true identity, and her subtle gestures, like hesitation followed by decisive action, reveal her internal struggle and growing awareness. By the end, she fully embraces her role alongside Neo, reflecting personal growth and the rekindling of their shared agency. The Analyst serves as the primary antagonist, representing control, manipulation, and the exploitation of human emotion for power. His calculated actions and psychological tactics challenge Neo and Trinity at every turn. While he does not change, his presence highlights the central theme of choice versus control and emphasizes the stakes for the protagonists. Morpheus, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, serves as both guide and symbolic anchor to the original series, helping Neo navigate the Matrix and reminding him of his past identity. His character development is subtler, emphasizing mentorship and loyalty, but he catalyzes Neo's and Trinity's growth through his guidance and strategic actions. Supporting characters like Bugs and Niobe play meaningful roles in aiding the protagonists and representing the resistance against systemic control. Their interactions, though limited, show resourcefulness, courage, and the collective effort required to challenge the Matrix. Each of these characters, through dialogue, gestures, and choices, contributes to the overall narrative by highlighting the importance of trust, self-realization, and the power of connection. Overall, the film's character development emphasizes transformation through awareness, choice, and emotional bonds, with Neo and Trinity at the center of a journey that moves from confusion and limitation to clarity, empowerment, and shared freedom. Beats to high-intensity action sequences. His chemistry with Carrie-Anne Moss, who plays Trinity/Tiffany, remains one of the strongest aspects of the film. Moss balances restrained domesticity with bursts of intensity, showing both her character's confusion and awakening, and her emotional connection with Reeves sells the film's central love story. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as the new Morpheus delivers a magnetic performance that captures the essence of the original character while adding a fresh, enigmatic quality. His physicality and measured delivery lend credibility to his role as a guide and mentor, though his portrayal occasionally leans more on spectacle than emotional depth. Neil Patrick Harris as the Analyst is effective in conveying a calculating, manipulative presence, though at times the performance feels theatrical and overly polished, creating a slight disconnect from the grounded emotional journey of Neo and Trinity. Despite this, key scenes where he psychologically confronts the protagonists demonstrate his ability to command the screen and establish him as a formidable antagonist. Supporting performances from Jessica Henwick as Bugs and Jada Pinkett Smith as Niobe provide energy and clarity to the narrative. Henwick is lively and confident, delivering moments of humor and resourcefulness that enhance the film's pacing, while Pinkett Smith brings authority and calm determination, reinforcing the stakes of the larger conflict. Overall, the film's performances range from quietly nuanced to explosively expressive. The leads, Reeves and Moss, anchor the emotional core, making their reunion and evolving relationship believable and engaging. Scene-stealing moments often come from the smaller interactions between characters, whether through a glance, gesture, or line delivery, showing how even minor beats contribute to the storytelling. While a few performances occasionally feel slightly out of step with the film's tone, the ensemble largely succeeds in translating complex narrative and thematic material into living, dynamic emotion, making the story resonate both visually and emotionally. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, is directed by Lana Wachowski, who returns to the franchise with a vision that blends nostalgia with a contemporary sensibility. From the opening scenes, the tone is established with a balance of introspection, surrealism, and action, reflecting Wachowski's intent to explore both the psychological and the physical dimensions of the Matrix. The pacing alternates between contemplative sequences and high-octane action, allowing audiences to process character emotions while also delivering the kinetic spectacle expected from a Matrix film. Stylistically, Wachowski favors a combination of long tracking shots, slow-motion sequences, and carefully choreographed action that emphasize both spatial awareness and character movement. These choices allow the audience to appreciate the physicality of the actors, particularly during combat scenes, and the meticulous staging of the environments, from cityscapes to virtual constructs. Abrupt cuts are sparingly used to heighten tension, while close-ups emphasize subtle emotional beats, giving insight into characters' internal conflicts. Wachowski's direction also extends to the performances, guiding actors to convey a mix of realism and heightened theatricality that suits the story's dual realities. Scenes such as Neo and Trinity's moments of recognition are carefully framed to maximize emotional impact, while action sequences are orchestrated with precision to ensure clarity and visual spectacle. The director's choices in lighting, color grading, and set design reinforce the distinction between the simulated Matrix world and the real world, helping audiences navigate the layered narrative without losing immersion. While many directorial decisions heighten the story, some narrative pauses and experimental sequences occasionally interrupt the flow, creating moments where pacing feels uneven. However, these choices also reflect the film's themes of perception, memory, and control, which are central to the narrative. Wachowski's confident integration of visual style, character focus, and thematic depth ultimately shapes the identity of the film, making it recognizable as part of the Matrix universe while also exploring new territory. Overall, the direction in The Matrix Resurrections demonstrates a clear vision that merges action, emotion, and conceptual complexity. Every framing choice, shot composition, and pacing decision is purposeful, reinforcing the dual realities and the internal struggles of the characters. The director's control over both spectacle and nuance ensures that the film remains engaging, visually striking, and emotionally resonant, even as it experiments with narrative structure and thematic ideas. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, features cinematography by John Toll, whose camera work plays a crucial role in shaping the film's visual identity and storytelling. From the very first scenes, the framing, movement, and composition emphasize the duality between the simulated Matrix world and the real world. Wide shots are often used to establish scale, particularly in the sprawling cityscapes and action sequences, giving audiences a sense of the environment's scope and the stakes involved. Tight framing, on the other hand, is employed during intimate character moments, highlighting emotions, hesitation, and recognition, especially in scenes between Neo and Trinity. The color palette is carefully chosen to differentiate realities. The Matrix world maintains cooler tones with muted blues and greens, creating a sense of artificiality and control, while the real world features warmer, more natural colors that emphasize human presence and authenticity. Lighting plays a significant role in underscoring character states and emotional beats. Shadows and high-contrast setups are used during moments of tension or deception, while soft, diffused lighting highlights vulnerability, awakening, and connection between characters. Camera movement is another signature element, with long tracking shots and fluid motion enhancing action sequences and giving a sense of continuous space. Slow motion and bullet time techniques are used strategically to emphasize the mechanics of combat and the heightened perception of the characters within the Matrix. These techniques are not merely decorative, they serve the story by making action readable, emphasizing choices, and underlining the themes of perception and control. Several standout shots linger in memory, such as the moments when Neo and Trinity reconnect, framed in ways that visually communicate their bond and emotional resonance. Reflections, mirrors, and visual distortions are used throughout to reinforce the idea of questioning reality and identity. The cinematography often complements the narrative, using visual language to convey internal character states, narrative tension, and thematic motifs without relying solely on dialogue. Overall, the cinematography in The Matrix Resurrections is essential to the film's storytelling. Each framing choice, movement, and lighting decision is purposeful, working in tandem with direction, production design, and performances. The visual style balances spectacle with emotional depth, creating sequences that are as memorable for their beauty and composition as for their narrative impact. The film's camera work ensures that both action and introspective moments are compelling, immersive, and thematically resonant, leaving a lasting impression on the viewer. The editing of The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, plays a central role in defining how the story unfolds, balancing introspection with action. Transitions between scenes are generally smooth, using visual cues and thematic motifs such as reflections and recurring imagery to guide the viewer through shifts in time and space. Montages are employed selectively, often to convey Neo's fragmented memories or the passage of time as he begins to question the constructed reality around him. These sequences help build a sense of unease and curiosity without overwhelming the narrative flow. Pacing in the film varies across acts. The first act deliberately moves at a slower rhythm, allowing the audience to reconnect with the world and its characters, particularly Thomas Anderson's confusion and routine life. This restraint can feel drawn out for some viewers, but it serves the purpose of establishing the stakes and emotional groundwork. As the second act progresses, the pacing quickens, with cross-cutting used to heighten suspense during action sequences and rescue missions. This rhythm helps generate momentum, particularly in scenes where Neo begins to regain his identity and joins forces with Bugs, Morpheus, and other allies. Flashbacks and intercut scenes are integrated throughout, blending past and present to reinforce the theme of memory and choice. At times, this technique adds depth by showing how characters are haunted by or drawn toward their former selves, but it can also contribute to moments of confusion where the narrative briefly loses clarity. The third act leans on faster cutting during action-heavy segments, creating intensity but occasionally sacrificing spatial clarity, especially in crowded or chaotic sequences. The film does allow moments of silence and stillness to breathe, particularly in scenes between Neo and Trinity, where longer takes and minimal cuts let the chemistry and emotional weight come through. These restrained edits stand out against the more rapid sequences, offering contrast and emotional grounding. Overall, the editing rhythm reflects a deliberate choice to merge the reflective tone of a sequel that looks back on its legacy with the demands of a modern action film. While some viewers may find certain stretches overly slow or others too densely packed, the editing amplifies key emotional beats and anchors the relationship between Neo and Trinity as the film's core. A slightly more consistent middle rhythm might have made the film tighter, but the approach chosen allows space for both nostalgia and narrative expansion. The soundtrack and score of The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, serve as an integral narrative force rather than mere background decoration. Composed by Johnny Klimek and Tom Tykwer, the music bridges the past and present of the franchise with an updated sonic identity that both honors the original trilogy and charts its own path. Throughout the film, you can hear echoes of Don Davis's iconic themes, but they are often reframed with modern textures, electronic pulses, and layered orchestration. This approach mirrors the film's core idea of revisiting familiar constructs while questioning their authenticity. One of the standout elements is the way recurring motifs are used to tether characters to their arcs. Neo's moments of doubt and awakening are accompanied by subdued, almost haunting progressions that gradually evolve into fuller, more commanding arrangements as his confidence resurfaces. Similarly, Trinity's presence is often underscored with a warmer yet mysterious tone, hinting at her fragmented memories and her essential role in the narrative's resolution. The score also uses silence strategically, especially in moments of tension or revelation. There are key scenes where the absence of music heightens unease, forcing viewers to focus on dialogue, subtle sound effects, or the emotional weight of an interaction without being guided by orchestral cues. When action erupts, the soundtrack does not always resort to relentless, high-octane rhythms. Instead, it blends electronic beats with orchestral swells, creating a sense of propulsion without drowning the choreography in noise. Licensed tracks appear sparingly but purposefully, aligning with the franchise's tendency to avoid overloading scenes with recognizable pop culture music. One moment in particular involving a remix of a familiar song from the original series feels like a deliberate callback that both excites and unsettles, reminding audiences of the cyclical nature of the Matrix's illusion. However, the score is not flawless. At times, it leans into repetition or builds tension that the editing does not fully match, leaving some sequences feeling more hyped musically than narratively earned. Despite that, when the music truly aligns with the film's visual and emotional beats, it enhances them significantly. Whether it is a quiet piano line beneath a moment of doubt or a crescendo that surges as Neo and Trinity make a crucial leap. The final act benefits greatly from this synergy, using its music to fuse nostalgia with a sense of renewal. Ultimately, the soundtrack of The Matrix Resurrections is both a memory and a reinvention. It carries the weight of expectation from longtime fans while experimenting with subtler, more layered compositions to fit its more introspective, sometimes self-aware tone. It may not deliver the instantly iconic moments that define the original trilogy's musical identity, but it provides enough sonic architecture to keep the world feeling alive, emotionally resonant, and occasionally thrilling. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, carries several underlying themes and messages that extend far beyond its action sequences and sci-fi premise. At its heart, the film wrestles with the question of identity and self-discovery. Neo and Trinity are caught between two realities, one constructed to suppress them and one representing their true selves. The film delves into how external forces, societal systems, and even personal fears can shape or suppress identity, and it presents the act of reclaiming that identity as both a rebellion and a liberation. This theme is communicated less through dialogue and more through visual metaphors. Mirrors, reflections, and the act of awakening symbolize the struggle to remember who they truly are. Another major theme is love as a form of resistance. While the original trilogy explored love in various forms, here it becomes a driving force, a code-breaking element that defies control. The bond between Neo and Trinity is portrayed as something that transcends programming, logic, and manipulation, turning their reunion into a metaphor for the human spirit overcoming artificial limitations. The film also touches upon the concept of control versus freedom. The new Matrix is presented as a system that thrives not through oppression but through subtle manipulation, reflecting modern anxieties about how people willingly remain in comfortable illusions. This echoes a broader theme about the cost of truth and the allure of complacency. Redemption is another layer running through the film, particularly in how Neo reclaims his purpose after years of being disconnected and lost. There are moments where past mistakes and failures are acknowledged, and the film uses them to suggest that starting over, resurrecting oneself, is always possible. At the same time, the narrative toys with the idea of reality being malleable, questioning whether free will exists when so much of what people experience can be fabricated or rewritten. Fear, too, plays a subtle but significant role. Characters wrestle with fear of change, fear of the unknown, and fear of letting go of what feels safe, which mirrors real-world hesitations in stepping away from cycles of control. In several key scenes, the movie communicates these ideas visually rather than through heavy exposition. The constant presence of screens, the blurred lines between game and life, and the repeated use of choices framed as pills or doors all reinforce the central questions without long monologues. However, the film sometimes sends mixed signals. While it champions freedom and authenticity, it also indulges in nostalgia, reviving old characters and sequences in ways that can feel contradictory to its message of moving forward. This tension between honoring the past and forging a new path becomes a theme in itself, one that reflects the creator's own metastruggle with reviving a beloved franchise. Ultimately, The Matrix Resurrections uses its narrative and visuals to explore identity, love, control, and renewal, even if it occasionally leaves audiences debating how successfully it delivers on those ideas. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, employs visual effects and CGI extensively to create its futuristic, layered world, continuing the franchise's legacy of bending reality through innovative digital work. The film uses a mix of CGI, practical sets, and motion capture to bring both the Matrix and the real world to life. While some sequences aim to push boundaries, the overall visual style is a mix of sleek digital effects and familiar franchise aesthetics. One of the standout elements is the bullet time sequences, which return with a more modern interpretation, using advanced compositing and motion techniques to freeze and distort action in ways that visually represent control and manipulation within the Matrix. In scenes where Neo confronts the Analyst or during the high-speed motorcycle chase, the CGI seamlessly integrates with live-action footage to create moments of intense motion and chaos without feeling completely detached from the physical environment. The film also leans heavily on digital environments to portray the updated Matrix simulation. Cityscapes, sprawling buildings, and virtual landscapes are rendered with a polished finish that reflects the artificiality of the world itself, making the line between real and simulated intentionally blurred. In contrast, scenes in the real world use more practical sets and restrained visual effects to emphasize its raw, dystopian feel. This contrast serves the narrative, visually distinguishing the stakes of each realm. Motion capture plays a subtle yet significant role, particularly in the design of new programs and certain combat scenes, allowing for more fluid, almost unnatural movements that hint at their artificial nature. However, not every effect lands perfectly. Some action sequences, particularly the swarm mode attacks, show noticeable CGI layering that feels slightly less grounded compared to the franchise's earlier reliance on more practical stunts. These moments risk pulling the audience out of the experience due to their sheer digital weight. Despite occasional overuse, the visual effects are crafted to support the story's themes of control, illusion, and choice. When used effectively, they amplify emotional beats, such as the powerful rooftop climax where Neo and Trinity rediscover their combined strength, the cityscape bending around them as they leap toward freedom. This moment, in particular, merges practical wirework with sweeping digital enhancements to create a spectacle that feels both intimate and epic. Overall, the VFX in The Matrix Resurrections walk a fine line between homage and reinvention. While not as groundbreaking as the original trilogy's innovations, they deliver a visually rich world that reflects technological advancements since the series first debuted. Some viewers may find the CGI-heavy moments too polished compared to the grittier, more practical feel of the original, but others will appreciate the updated textures and modernized visual language that anchor this chapter in a new era. The effects, when at their best, serve the story's core, a world where reality is malleable, perception is power, and even the most digital illusion carries real emotional weight. Set design and locations in The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, play a crucial role in shaping the film's layered reality and adding texture to its narrative. The production design carefully balances the sleek, artificial world of The Matrix with the more grounded, worn, and tactile elements of the real world. Cramped apartments, high-tech control rooms, and bustling urban streets each carry a sense of purpose, hinting at the characters' histories and the systems they inhabit. Small details in set dressing, like scattered tools, worn-out furniture, or the cold geometry of corporate interiors, create a feeling that these spaces have been lived in or manipulated over time. The film also makes use of real-world locations to enhance its scale and credibility, blending them with studio-built environments to create seamless transitions between the mundane and the extraordinary. Sweeping cityscapes and layered urban designs amplify the sense of control and illusion in The Matrix, while more rugged, industrial spaces emphasize the fragility of the human resistance. Props are often functional and symbolic, whether it is a mirror, a pill bottle, or a weapon. Each item adds narrative weight and serves as a bridge between the characters' internal struggles and the larger story. The set design does not merely provide a backdrop, it becomes a storytelling tool that enhances mood, informs character decisions, and reflects the duality of perception and reality that drives the film's central conflict. The dialogue and script in The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, serve as both a continuation of the franchise's philosophical core and a modern reflection on its legacy. The film's writing mixes sharp, self-aware lines with moments that feel deliberate in their pacing, often layering meaning beneath the surface rather than stating everything outright. Some exchanges reveal character depth through subtle word choices or pauses, allowing the audience to sense internal conflict without it being spelled out. Conversations between Neo and Trinity, for example, carry an understated tension where silence and brief glances often say more than extended speeches. At other points, the dialogue functions as a vehicle for exposition, driving the plot forward with explanations of the Matrix's evolution and the stakes at hand. There are scenes where the script feels intentionally meta, addressing the nature of sequels, reboots, and control in ways that blur the line between fiction and commentary. Yet not every line lands with the same weight. A few moments lean too heavily on direct explanation, leaving less room for mystery or interpretation. Some passages could have benefited from a tighter rewrite to sharpen emotional clarity or avoid slowing the momentum of the narrative. Overall, the script balances philosophical musings with intimate character moments, using dialogue as a means to connect the larger themes of identity, choice, and reality with the personal journeys unfolding on screen. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, positions itself firmly within the action and science fiction genres while layering in elements of romance, drama, and meta-commentary. It acknowledges the expectations of a Matrix film, stylized combat, bullet time sequences, and philosophical undertones, yet approaches them with a self-aware twist. Classic beats such as high-stakes chases, mind-bending reality shifts, and tense face-offs are present, though often reinterpreted rather than replicated. The action set pieces carry familiar energy but sometimes trade the raw intensity of the original trilogy for a more reflective tone, emphasizing the emotional stakes over pure spectacle. In doing so, the film both honors its roots and diverges from what many viewers traditionally associate with the franchise's adrenaline-fueled moments. Certain genre clichés are deliberately called out or subverted, such as the trope of the reluctant hero being forced back into the fray or the mentor figure returning in unexpected ways. However, these risks can divide audiences, with some appreciating the fresh approach while others may feel deprived of the relentless pace and groundbreaking innovation the series once defined. By blending genres, it creates a hybrid experience that is part sequel, part deconstruction, offering fans something familiar yet challenging their expectations of what a modern Matrix installment should deliver. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, engages with a range of social and cultural themes, reflecting both the digital age it was released in and the philosophical roots of the franchise. It explores ideas of control, choice, and perception in a world increasingly shaped by technology, algorithms, and virtual spaces. The film comments on how society can become trapped in cycles of comfort, distraction, and dependency, echoing real-world concerns about social media influence and corporate dominance over individual freedom. There are undertones of identity and self-discovery, particularly in how the characters reclaim their agency in a system designed to suppress it. The narrative also touches on relationships, human connection, and the resilience of belief in a time when reality feels increasingly fragmented. While these messages resonate with the original trilogy's spirit, some of the commentary risks feeling heavy-handed or simplified, especially when complex social dynamics are reduced to brief dialogues or visual cues. Certain moments feel timely, such as the portrayal of people willingly embracing manufactured realities for convenience or security, while others may strike viewers as forced or overtly self-referential. Overall, the film aims to provoke thought rather than provide solutions, inviting audiences to question the structures that define their lives, though its execution may divide opinion between those who appreciate its metasocial critique and those who find it too on the nose. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, offers a range of moments designed to spark emotional and intellectual engagement from its audience. Scenes that reunite Neo and Trinity after years of separation carry the most emotional weight, often stirring feelings of nostalgia and longing among longtime fans. Their interactions, especially the moments where their connection begins to reawaken, are crafted to resonate deeply and may even bring a tear to the eye for those invested in their story. Action sequences featuring inventive choreography and callbacks to the original trilogy are likely to create gasps of excitement, particularly the scenes that blend new visual effects with iconic moves. The meta-commentary and self-referential humor sprinkled throughout may elicit laughter or wry smiles, especially from viewers familiar with the franchise's legacy and its impact on pop culture. The film also leaves room for debate through its open-ended questions about free will, control, and the nature of reality, prompting discussions and theories that extend well beyond the credits. Certain background details, hidden symbols, and layered dialogue reward viewers on a second or third watch, making the film more rewarding for those who enjoy unraveling its subtext. Signature moments, like Neo rediscovering his powers or the rooftop climax with Trinity, are positioned as GIF-worthy highlights that capture the essence of the movie's emotional and visual spectacle. These elements combine to create a film that, while divisive in some circles, is designed to inspire conversation and repeated exploration rather than a single, passive viewing experience. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, stands as both a continuation and a reflection of its predecessors, drawing heavily from the original Matrix trilogy while attempting to modernize its themes for a new generation. Compared to the groundbreaking first film, it struggles to match the same level of innovation in visual effects and narrative impact, as the original set an almost unattainable standard for action sci-fi cinema. However, it borrows smartly from its own legacy, using meta-narrative elements and self-aware commentary to explore the nature of sequels and reboots, a move that recalls the reflexive style seen in films like Scream, 2022, or even Wes Craven's New Nightmare. When placed next to other cyberpunk-inspired or reality-bending films such as Inception or Blade Runner 2049, it showcases a more sentimental and character-driven approach rather than focusing purely on philosophical or technical spectacle. The film reinvents aspects of its formula through the emotional core built around Neo and Trinity, offering a more intimate perspective that differentiates it from its more action-heavy predecessors. Yet, in terms of ambition and execution, some set pieces and thematic explorations fall short of the tightly constructed, groundbreaking work of the Wachowskis' earlier films, particularly the first Matrix. It feels less like a revolution and more like a commentary on the idea of revolutions themselves, positioning it uniquely within a genre often driven by innovation and reinvention. Symbolism and metaphors in The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, are woven throughout its visual language and narrative, creating layers that reward careful attention. The film revisits familiar motifs from the earlier entries while introducing new ones that comment on choice, identity, and the nature of reality itself. Colors play a significant role once again. The iconic green tint, long associated with the digital world, makes selective appearances, often signaling moments when characters question their surroundings or encounter manipulations of the Matrix. In contrast, the real-world sequences lean on cooler, muted tones, reflecting the starkness and fragility of life outside the simulated environment. The recurring use of mirrors and reflections carries a strong metaphorical weight, representing self-examination, fragmented identity, and the duality between the real and the fabricated. Characters often confront their own reflections in distorted or fragmented forms, hinting at their struggle to reconcile memory with imposed reality. Objects also serve as symbolic anchors. The return of the red and blue pills is perhaps the most overt metaphor, once again standing for choice, awakening, and the seductive lure of comfort in ignorance. However, this time their presentation is layered with irony and meta-commentary, as the film itself questions the binaries it once presented as absolute. Doors and portals remain central, symbolizing transitions, opportunities, and the thin veil between one state of consciousness and another. When Neo moves through these thresholds, they often blur or distort, visually reinforcing the instability of perception. Repeated images further enrich the thematic tapestry. Birds in flight, seen in multiple sequences, become subtle symbols of freedom and unpredictability, contrasting with the rigid control structures of the Matrix. The motif of hands reaching out, whether to pull someone to safety, connect across distances, or grasp at reality, speaks to the film's exploration of connection and trust. Even the way code manifests visually in this entry carries meaning. Its less rigid, more fluid appearance reflects a world that has evolved since the original trilogy, one where control is exercised more through comfort and distraction than through overt force. Narratively, the film uses these symbols not just as decoration but as active participants in its exploration of memory, love, and resistance. Trinity's motorcycle, for instance, becomes a recurring image of motion, liberation, and power reclaimed. The constant references to loops, cycles, and repetitions suggest a world caught between progress and recurrence, challenging the very idea of linear resolution. Many of these metaphors are intentionally left open-ended, inviting viewers to interpret them based on their own understanding of the previous films and their relationship to the concept of simulated reality. By layering these elements throughout its set pieces and quieter moments alike, The Matrix Resurrections asks viewers to look beyond its surface-level narrative of action and romance. It encourages a more reflective engagement, where every object, color choice, and recurring visual can be seen as part of a larger conversation about autonomy, perception, and the power of belief. Franchise or historical context in The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, plays a significant role in shaping how the film is perceived by both longtime fans and new viewers. As a direct continuation of the Matrix franchise, it builds upon the complex mythology established in the previous films, bringing familiar characters, themes, and worlds back into focus while also expanding them in unexpected ways. Continuity is maintained through returning characters like Neo and Trinity, whose arcs are deeply intertwined with the core narrative of the series, yet this film introduces new elements and characters that challenge and sometimes redefine the rules that audiences thought they knew. Callbacks to earlier installments are plentiful, ranging from visual motifs like the iconic green code and slow-motion action sequences to dialogue that mirrors pivotal lines from the original trilogy, creating an echo effect that ties the new story to its predecessors while questioning their legacy. Easter eggs for longtime fans are scattered throughout, offering subtle rewards for those who have followed the franchise closely. These might include glimpses of old locations, nods to side characters, or references to the larger Matrix lore beyond the main films, including themes explored in animated spin-offs and games. The timeline placement of The Matrix Resurrections is carefully constructed to fit within the established canon, set many years after the events of the third film, which gives it room to explore the evolution of both the Matrix and the real world. It raises questions about cycles of control, freedom, and choice, key themes from the series that are revisited here but with a contemporary lens, reflecting changes in technology, society, and even how audiences themselves view the original trilogy. For new viewers, the film provides enough context to follow the story, but much of its emotional weight and layered meaning comes from understanding the past events and relationships that shaped its characters. For veterans of the series, there is a constant interplay between nostalgia and innovation, with the movie both honoring and critiquing its own history. It does not simply repeat what came before but rather engages in a dialogue with it, acknowledging the impact of the franchise while questioning the nature of sequels and reboots in general. If the film were treated as a historical piece rather than part of a fictional franchise, one might look at how it dramatizes the passage of time within its universe and how it reflects real-world shifts in culture and filmmaking since the early 2000s. The choices made to resurrect certain characters or reinterpret key events can be seen as both a continuation and a reinvention, ensuring the story resonates with a modern audience while still rooted in its original mythology. This balance between respect for the source material and willingness to evolve is at the heart of The Matrix Resurrections, making it a film that is as much about the legacy of the Matrix as it is about the future of storytelling within that world. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, had a production budget that reflected its ambitious nature, but how that budget translates on screen is an interesting point to explore. The film's visual presentation, with its complex digital effects, action sequences, and futuristic cityscapes, gives the impression of a major studio investment. However, some viewers noted that certain moments leaned toward a more contained or minimalist execution compared to the earlier films, especially in terms of grand-scale set pieces. This could suggest a strategic allocation of resources where the focus was on narrative-driven sequences rather than overwhelming the audience with constant spectacle. The budget also covered extensive marketing campaigns designed to reignite interest in the Matrix franchise after nearly 2 decades, with teasers, trailers, and nostalgic promotions aimed at both old fans and new viewers. Marketing decisions, including release timing and the hybrid model that made it available both in theaters and on streaming platforms, played a significant role in shaping box office performance. When it comes to box office returns, the movie faced unique challenges. Releasing during a time when global theater attendance was still recovering affected its potential earnings. The decision to launch simultaneously on streaming reduced traditional ticket sales but was intended to broaden accessibility and generate long-term revenue across platforms. These factors often blur the lines when assessing a film's immediate financial success, as streaming views and subscriptions are harder to quantify compared to box office tickets. Beyond the opening weekend, the movie's ability to generate sustained conversation and draw viewers over time became a more critical indicator of its impact. Merchandise sales, franchise tie-ins, and the potential for future installments also contribute to its overall financial footprint. From a production standpoint, the film appears to have punched above its weight in certain areas by using innovative filming techniques and a strong creative vision to deliver scenes that feel larger than their cost might suggest. Yet, the reliance on big-name actors, high-quality effects, and extensive promotional efforts also signals that a significant portion of the budget was directed toward ensuring the movie's presence felt grand and event-like. This combination of careful resource allocation and strategic spending means the film occupies an interesting middle ground. It does not feel low budget by any means, but it also does not constantly push for excess. Instead, it delivers a mix of intimate, reflective moments and bursts of visual flair, balancing its financial weight to match the themes of revisiting and reimagining a beloved story. The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, offers a range of ways for audiences to experience its story, and the choice of where to watch it can significantly affect how the film is perceived. For those who want to immerse themselves completely in its world of digital landscapes, action choreography, and layered sound design, theaters remain the ideal option. On the big screen, the intricate visual effects, the sharp color contrasts, and the ambitious action set pieces feel more impactful, allowing every detail of the production design to be absorbed as intended by the filmmakers. The sound mixing, particularly during high-intensity fight scenes or moments of silence that build tension, comes across with greater clarity and depth when experienced in a properly equipped cinema. The theatrical setting also enhances the collective viewing atmosphere, where audience reactions to twists or references add to the shared energy of the moment. For many viewers, however, streaming has become a preferred and practical alternative. The film is available on major streaming platforms, giving audiences the flexibility to watch it at their own pace and convenience. This is particularly valuable for a film like The Matrix Resurrections, which contains philosophical undertones and subtle references to its earlier entries that some viewers may want to revisit or pause to analyze. Streaming also allows for repeated viewings, which can help in catching Easter eggs or appreciating the intricacies of its narrative layers. Renting or purchasing a digital copy offers a similar advantage, providing the freedom to watch without the constraints of theatrical schedules. If you choose to watch it at home, the experience can vary depending on your setup. A large television or home projector paired with a quality sound system or noise-canceling headphones can bring you closer to the cinematic feel, especially for scenes that rely heavily on audiovisual synergy. The iconic slow-motion sequences, stylized combat, and score by Johnny Klimek and Tom Tykwer benefit from a clear and powerful soundscape. Even subtle moments, like character-driven dialogues that hint at the film's meta-commentary, gain more presence with proper sound. For casual viewers who are mainly curious about the continuation of the Matrix saga or those watching it for the first time without deep ties to the original trilogy, a standard home watch on a regular TV or laptop can still provide a satisfying experience. The film's narrative does not lose its core message when watched in a more relaxed environment, although some of the spectacle may feel less pronounced. Meanwhile, longtime fans or those interested in the visual and thematic evolution of the series might find the theatrical or high-quality home theater setting more rewarding, as it allows them to fully appreciate the scale, visual texture, and layered references that the film offers. Ultimately, The Matrix Resurrections adapts well to multiple viewing contexts, but the level of immersion and the richness of the experience will depend on where and how you choose to watch it. If you enjoyed this video and would like us to provide reviews of every kind of movie, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.